covered some of this last time. We're going to cover probably a bit of this, the rest of this, and then talk about it in the lab for you guys this afternoon as well. But here we go. You guys ready? And I hope so. Y'all are hanging in there. I see it. Y'all are tired. I see y'all studying. Folks are nodding off, man. You guys are better than me. I remember my head was back, man, mouth open, going like this in one of my bio classes. Never forget. That professor, Ubega, Seth Ubega, came up to me and said, Dulan. I was like, I was gone, man. I was snoring in the class. He had come to the back row to catch me. I was like, oh, my bad. So, hang in there, guys. I know it's rough. Isn't it crazy? We got an extra hour. I mean, we're still tired. What happens is you get the extra hour, and then you're like, oh, okay. And then you look at the clock, and it fools you. You're like, oh, man, it's only 8:30. I don't need to go to bed. It's 11. I need to go ahead and go to bed. When your normal bedtime is 10. So now you're 2 hours behind. Now you're waking up, you got an extra hour, but you're still tired. So I don't know. Talk with Dr. Richardson on this stuff and see if we get you straight on what's happening with these sleep cycles and stuff. Anyway, let's check out what's the pelvis and perineum stuff. This is all the provocative areas. Watch out. So as we come through, we have the spine that's here, right? We have the abdomen, abdominal region, and the pelvic region that's here. This is, as we said, is more of the greater pelvis. Here's the greater pelvis that's here. Allah. See? Allah. No. It's actually the wing. It's referred to the wing of the ilium that's there. And so alas, it's almost like I think of alas, here's the ilium. And so for this particular area, it's considered the lesser or greater pelvis that's there. This is lesser. So in this particular area, now we're moving down through the pubic symphysis, the pelvic bone, the rim, to the sacral promontory. And this imaginary line helps lock in this area where we were all hanging out at one time in the past. And so here we have the inlet and outlet of these particular areas, and they are somewhat open, if you will, to the pelvic region. So that brings us to the pelvic diaphragm that's here. So this floor of the pelvis itself is one in which we're going to learn all the muscles that are here and relative structures in this space as well. So pelvic girdle consists of the left and right hip bones and the sacrum itself. So bones and the sacrum come and make up the pelvic girdle. Is it appendicular or axial? Pelvic girdle, appendicular or axial? The hip. Yeah, both answers are right. What area is axial? Sacrum. What area is that appendicular? The coxal bones. That's right. That's right. So it's all kind of comes together. So function is to bear the body weight and transfer that to the lower legs. So it's a site of muscular attachment, but also protects our organs and supports the abdominal pelvic viscera that's located there, and attachment site for erectile genitalia. Now, this is kind of the rotation of axis at that sacroiliac joint that's located in this space. And so the weight of the body kind of comes down this way, and it's going to cause more rotation this way. So we use our other muscles to help counteract that, our lumbar muscles and those kind of things, to help in terms of keeping that motion stationary where we are, or tilting it or adjusting it as needed. So abs, lower back, these are all areas that help take care of and regulate all of these things. By the way, if your patient comes in with low back pain, depending on if they can, tightening up the abdominal area muscles actually help your core, help the back. And so having a strong core is something that can help both the back and the front. So just keep that in mind. So we do have these varied ligaments that are here and portions of the bones. I'm trying to remember. We'll be revisiting these in part 2 and going over a lot of the different structures. But there is a sacrotuberous ligament. What do you think that attaches? Sacrum to the close. It's It's actually this one right here. You're right, attaches to the ischium. You remember from way back in the day in Gen Bio 2 lab? Ischiotuberosity. So it attaches to the ischiotuberosity, that's why it's called sacrotuberous, because it's attaching to that spot. Sacrospinous would be going from the sacrum to the ischial spine. So that's why they named it for that. So just letting you know of those spaces. So here again, we have more of the greater pelvis that's here. Here's the lesser pelvis in the pelvic cavity, or more of the what we call the true pelvis. So this would be kind of the false pelvis that would be up here. And so we have the pelvic diaphragm, and part of the pelvic diaphragm is the levator ani muscles, and we'll talk about those in a minute. We also have below this, which is considered the perineum. So the undercarriage underneath this diaphragm is considered the perineum in that space. So pelvis in kids consists of the ilium, ischium, and pubic bones, joined by this triradiate cartilage. Basically, the three bones that are coming together are not together yet, because it's cartilage in that space. And after a while, they actually fuse and become like they are now. So here's what they mean by the triradiate cartilage. It looks like this. So here's our acetabulum. This is the triradiate cartilage that's there. It's not fused. So you look on x-ray and they're like, hey, what do you think about this kid? And you can look at the x-ray like, man, they broke their hip. What's going on? It's kid looks okay though. What's up with this? No, it just hasn't fused yet, so it's not showing up on x-ray. But as we get older, these things start to fuse, we start our growing, so once we, hit 20 or whatever, this thing is all fused and we don't have to worry about that. Yeah, all these parts to the bones, you can pay attention to as you start learning about the pelvis. So just make sure you're comfortable with the anterior superior iliac spine, anterior inferior, the ischial spine, tuberosities, the greater sciatic notch, lesser sciatic notches, the ala, the crest, all the stuff that's there. Just make it your friend for the pelvis. In general, we can distinguish features from males and females. So if you come across it as just some bones, they're able to, if you want to go into forensics or something like that, you can identify usually a male and female structure based on certain features of the bones. Generally, males are thick and heavy, the greater pelvis is deep, lesser pelvis is narrow. So we compare this to a female, so thick and heavy versus thin and light. Pelvis is deep for male versus shallow for female. Narrow and deep for males, wide and shallow for females. Pelvic inlet, narrow, heart-shaped, wide, round, or oval for females. Pelvic outlet is smaller versus females, which is larger. Pubic arch is less than 70, where females is greater than 80. And it's interesting because they used to be like 90 and 120. So I don't know why we're at 70 and 80 now, but that's what they're using. So yeah, I don't get it. But anyway, less than 70. Males is narrower if you look at the pubic arch itself. The obturator foramen, that's the hole, the big old holes at the front of the pelvis. It's round for males, it's oval for females. Also, acetabulum is larger for males than females, and the greater sciatic notch is about 70 degrees with an inverted V, whereas for the female it's about 90. So it kind of looks like this. Here you can see there's more so the male, and sometimes you can see this even more so upright. Female, you can see this is much wider. That's here. By the way, this is a female symbol, this is a male symbol that's here. So this is about 90, looks like about 90 to me. That's why I was like 90 and 120. This looks like more like about 120, but whatever. And so notice it's a little thinner, shallower. This is larger. This is a little bit smaller. And a lot of times these are more so upright. These are more, wider in there in the way they come together as well. And a little bit this is thicker. This is generally a little bit thinner in terms of the bone. Okay, so for the pelvic cavity itself, we have different structures on the particular walls. These pictures are kind of, well, let's do it. So we have the anterior inferior wall of the floor of the pelvic cavity. It's formed by the bodies and rami of the pelvic bones and the pubic symphysis, so the front bones that are there, and it bears the weight of the urinary bladder in part. So it makes sense. The bladder is just sitting there on the anterior wall. The lateral walls are the hip bones. There's an obturator foramen and membrane that's there and covers the obturator internus muscle, covers that foramen, which is kind of strange. If you look at the hip bones and you'd see these big old holes, but believe it or not, the muscles like cover up almost all the hole. There's only like a little tiny thing that a little nerve like kind of comes through, and a little artery comes through with that big old hole. So I don't know what's up, but I guess it was a great attachment point for the muscles. Posterior walls formed by the sacrum, coccyx, anterior sacroiliac, sacrospinous, sacrotuberous ligaments, and the piriformis muscles as well. Piriformis muscles are muscles that kind of come across into the deep side of below the gluteus maximus and kind of attaches to your hip, or part of your femur that's there. These structures are, I guess we can kind of walk through this a little bit. Here we can see the pubic symphysis that's here. Here's the sacrum, okay, to get us in the sacral canal. This is L5 right here. You see an obturator nerve that's coming down here, going through the obturator foramen. So all this big old space is actually the hole. What's being all blocked by this obturator membrane and part of the muscle also that's in that space. So just know that this is a big hole, and it just has this little space that goes through that big old hole, the obturator nerve. And you can see these ligaments, these are the sacrospinous ligaments, sacrotuberous ligaments that are there. As we move on down, okay, so we can look at this view here. Now you can see the obturator internus muscle has just totally covered up all this stuff. So you can't really see that hole too well as well. There's a coccygeus muscle that is attaching to the floor that's here. Here's our piriformis muscle that's in the back. Here's our same little obturator nerve going through that little hole that's there. And part of the pubococcygeus muscle we'll see here. And we'll see these a little bit better in a moment. Notice the relationship of our vessels as well. Here's our external iliacs coming through. Okay, here's our internal iliac that's coming down here. On this side, we can also now see almost totally, you can't even see that there's even a hole there, right? But here's still the same obturator nerve coming through in some of the vessels. Here's our plexi that we have, sacral plexus that are there, our same external iliacs that are in this space. And now we're looking at a lot of these floor muscles for the pelvis itself. We have a puborectalis. So it goes from the pubic bone around the rectum, kind of holds it in place. We have a pubococcygeus from the pubic bone around to the coccyx, kind of keeps that thing together. Then we have the iliococcygeus, going from the ilium to the coccyx area, okay, and holding that together. So these three here are what we consider more of the structures that hold up the bottom part of our floor. And then we have the coccygeus behind it, which is a little bit more superior. So this is another picture kind of looking at the floor of this pelvic area and how it relates. So again, let's learn some of these muscles that are here on the floor. Puborectalis. Dun, 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 dun. Okay, first of all, what are these holes? So here's the hole for the what? Hole for the arm? What was the hole for? Any ideas? Okay, so the pubic bone is right here, the sacrum is right here. And here's a hole. There you go, rectum. Okay, great. So this is our rectum that's here. That's why this muscle is called the puborectalis, because it goes like this. It's like a slingshot around here. Okay? So here's our puborectalis that's there. Then we have one going from the pubic bone all the way back here to the coccyx. So that's why they call it pubococcygeus. It's our pubococcygeus located here. Okay? Then you have the iliococcygeus. This is one going from the ilium to the coccyx. Ilium to the coccyx. So iliococcygeus. So these three muscles here help make up that pelvic floor. Behind that, we have the coccygeus itself. Here's our coccygeus here, and then the piriformis is even farther behind, which is mainly just helping you to do this. So, kind of helps you do this motion here. The piriformis is pulling and contracting and helping you to do this kind of motion to adduct your leg or whatever. So that's the idea behind these. So, of course, this is the anterior structures that they have. Vaginal canal and the urethra would be here. We do have different somatic nerves in the pelvis, L4, L5, F, and all the S's, and all these guys come together to become certain nerves in our legs and in the pelvic region. So, do we have to know all of these names? We did. I had to know superior gluteal, nerve to piriformis, inferior gluteal, nerve to quadratus femoris, inferior glomerulis, internus. We did a lot of this in the lower extremity though. So we kind of mixed together a little bit of the pelvis, and because these innervate so many of the muscles behind the pelvis, that's why we had to know them, not necessarily as much in the pelvic area. But notice that we do have this sciatic nerve that's also coming down. So from these, the sciatic nerve forms, which helps to go down the back of our leg. You'll see that if you're here next semester, you'll see it. It's huge. It's literally about this big, the sciatic nerve that comes down our leg. Hey, ha-ha! So right now we're looking at the kidneys. And the arms represent the what? Renal arteries. Good. The torso is represented by the aorta. And then as the legs split, we have, what is this? Common iliac, and then down here it's called the external iliac, and this guy is the internal iliac. Good. So internal and external are branching off of the common iliac on the right and left sides. We have middle sacral arteries. We have these that are coming off. These are called the testicular or gonadal arteries or ovarian arteries. It just depends on what it is. So if gonadal for whatever, but specifically it'd be testicular or ovarian arteries coming off of the aorta itself. Yeah. This looks like dot matrix, man. It's like 2001. Okay. But from this, we do have the portal system. We have the venous system. Notice the IMV is coming up and hitting the splenic coming up. And same thing, same structures, but this is unique though. Notice that you do have this right ovarian vein feeding directly into the IVC. Whereas the left ovarian vein feeds into what? Yeah, it feeds into the renal. So the left ovarian vein feeds into the, or testicular or ovarian, whichever, feeds into the splenic. The, renal, look, let's get this right. Let me get it right. The left ovarian vein feeds into the what? Left renal. The right ovarian vein feeds into the what? Inferior vena cava. Is that okay? So inferior vena cava from the right, renal from the left. Is that okay? For the venous flow. Why do we note this? Because it's unique. So anything unique you have to know. So make sure you have this locked in. This is abdomen, so make sure you have it known for the abdomen. Okay. So for this test coming up, make sure you're comfortable with that. I think we're out of time. So what we're going to end up doing is, because the rest of the stuff, we really need to spend a little time on this. So what we're going to do is have we're going to have our exam, of course, on Thursday for the upper limb and the abdomen. On that following Tuesday will be lecture on the pelvis. Then we'll have our practicum on that Thursday, and then we'll have our exam on the pelvis on that next Tuesday, the last class we have, and then we have the final exam, 7 a.m. on Monday. Yes.
How do you discuss final and
Yeah. I will give you I'll try to incorporate a review on Tuesday of next week when we have lecture to give you a more guided approach to it. But in general, you are, reviewing over all the stuff. It's gonna be back and thorax and everything, upper limb and stuff like that. But it is not as intensive. You know, because it's covering so much stuff. It's going to be more so I can't say basic questions, because what is basic in this class? But you know what I mean. You know what I mean? It's stuff that should be more so, oh yeah, you know, stuff that you should have gotten at least as a foundation for the course. Yes.